Okay, we're going to look at number theory. So this question, for all a and b, such that negative or a is greater than -1 but less than 0, and b is greater than 0 but less than 1, which of the following has the largest value? Okay, so what they're saying is there's an infinite number of values a could be, and they are between -1 and 0. And there's an infinite amount of numbers b could be, and they are greater than 0 but less than 1. We need to figure out which of these equations will essentially create the largest value. So let's kind of go through these here. Just to give you an idea, a could be something like as low as -0.99 repeated forever, and as large as -0.000001 all the way down and right all the way. And then vice versa, b can be as low as 0.00001 and as large as positive 0.9999 repeated. Okay, but they're not actually equal to 0 and 1. Those are really important facts for how we're going to go through this. So b, what's the largest b can be? Well, we just established this is the largest value b could be. Something less than 1. Good to know. The largest it can be is just less than 1. B squared. Well, that means you're taking the b value and multiplying by itself. And anytime you multiply decimal values by themselves, okay, even think of it as a fraction. A fraction is some numerator with a value below it that is a little bit bigger if it's less than 1. So, like 1/2 is a terrible example because that's 0.5, but just to show you how it goes, if you multiply a half times a half, you end up with 1/4, which is 0.5. So, or sorry, 0.25. So our 0.5 just decreased in size, okay? So this value will be less than the above value, so it is definitely not this here. Okay. A and B. Well, we know B is positive, okay? So if we even make this as large as possible, if B is that 0.999 repeated, and we'll make A as large in this case as possible, it's still a negative value, 0.0001 repeated. We add this. So this is going to be less than whatever our b was here because we're adding a negative value, so this can't be it either. We already established that squaring values make them smaller. So even at its largest size here, our a squared is going to be a positive value, and our b squared is going to be a positive value here. So, now it is possible that this is an extremely small negative number, or large, depending if you're looking at absolute value. So say we had 0.9 repeated squared plus 0.9 repeated squared, okay? This is going to end up being a positive value. Now, it'll be less than whatever a is, and this will be, so this value here will be less than a, and this value will be less than b, but both big enough that they would actually be larger than this b. So now this is no longer the largest size. We are adding larger values, especially if we use these ones. Now, if we had smaller values, it's possible. We're trying to do the largest possible answers here. These values added together potentially could be bigger than this. So this might be our answer. And then finally, let's look at this one. Okay. Well, whatever a is, we have to assume that these values are the same all the way through. This value here is going to be less than b, and this value here is going to be less than a. Okay, we know these values are greater, and because we're subtracting a negative, we're actually taking the original value, okay, and we're adding them together. So because a, just like kind of like what's happening above, except that because we're squaring values less than 1, these both must be less than whatever our values are here. I know it's getting convoluted. But this would then be the largest value possible. A lot of thought to this number theory type question.